friends and gamers, welcome to the Fortress. Today we're doing July 1938 and turns away from war. As you well know, the Japanese did some drastic moves against the Dutch East Indies and brought them into the war. That means that the Netherlands are now controlled by the British Commonwealth, which means I get to do a recruitment role for them later on as well. So today we're doing the British Commonwealth, the French, and the Netherlands turn. So stay with us as we go to the economic table. Alright, so here we have the economic table. We have one tech roll happening by the British Commonwealth, Great Britain, one by Canada. So let's quickly go over what we'll purchase. We're purchasing an air transport for Great Britain and an airborne, so that's 8 and 3. So that leaves us with $11 and one left over. If I remember correctly, 8, 9, 10, 11, yeah, $1 left over. The Far East Command is getting one anti-aircraft and one militia, so 4 and 2 makes 6, so they also have one left over. The Anzac is purchasing the regular 1 infantry, so $3. And the Canadians are not purchasing anything, and they are just going for a technology roll. So let's roll for technology here at the start. So we're doing long-range aircraft for the Brits, and they need a 7 to succeed. They get a 6, so we're shy. And now Canada is doing improved shipyards, 10. That is rather improved constructions, not improved shipyards. Okay, so we fail in this one, succeed in this one. All right, let's dive into the page and see what we're moving. So our first movement is going to be move this fighter from London to the British Midlands. We're going to grab these two submarines from Sea Zone 25, and they're going to come down to the gates of Gibraltar, right over here, and go into Sea Zone 79. This strategic bomber is going to fly up to the British Midlands, and so we'll cruise up there again, which is here. We are going to go back to Gibraltar. We're going to grab up this medium bomber. It's flying the distance to Egypt, into this position. In Egypt, we're going to move 1 infantry south to Nubia and 1 infantry up to the Transjordan. We are going to now look at this fleet here in Sea Zone 83. Now 1 heavy cruiser, 1 destroyer is staying there, and the remaining 3 destroyers, 2 heavy cruisers, light carrier, and aircraft are flying 1, 2, 3, 4 to this position here. Now some might take a look at that and say I'm not supposed to, so feel free to let me know, just in case. My only concern is for that fighter, if that fighter can reach. I think it can, and if not, then we need to deal with that, and we'll probably end up leaving it in Sea Zone 80, but we shall take care of that later. One last movement is going to be this transport is going to go into Sea Zone 83 over here to join this fleet right there. Okay, now while we're in this direction, we're going to cruise over to the Pacific side here. And this fleet here is going to go 1, 2, 3 and join this small fleet in Sea Zone 83. Oops. This coastal submarine here in Sea Zone 88 is going to go north to 89. The Anzac fleet here is a little bit interesting. We're going to snag them up. We're going to grab the destroyer and the light cruiser and the transport. Now, the destroyer and light cruiser have movement of 4. The transport has a movement of 3 from this base, plus 1 from this base. We're going to snag up that artillery, and so these 3 units, so the transport's going to strategic naval move, and they're all going to go into Sea Zone 122. 122 over here, and they're going to drop off this in Malaya. So there is a port here which they can strategic naval move. Now only the transport's strategic naval moving, the other 2 ships are just using regular movement to get to that position. So in place unit phase, we're going to start with the FEC. We're going to place this at the factory there. We have 1 militia, and that militia we're going to place in Maharashtra over here, just to protect that port, because I could only receive Lend-Lease in Maharashtra and Calcutta. That's the only 2 places I could receive Lend-Lease in this area, so it's worth protecting. In the Anzac, in Sydney, I'm going to use their factory and produce 1 infantry here. And now for the British side of things. The Great British side of things. So I'm going to place at my factory over here in London, I'm going to place my airborne as well as my air transport. You may wonder why I purchased that. Well, there are some reasons, but I like to be able to project threat. And currently, as you see, Berlin is open and Berlin is free of troops. So theoretically, if this opportunity ever comes up again, we can do some pretty drastic moves. And at the very least, we can cause them to keep some troops in the rear or continue to build troops in the rear at the very least. Right? That is it for place unit phase. Now let's go to the collect income phase. Okay, for place units, so Britain gets an extra 15, so we're at 16. Far East Command gets 8, so they're at 9. Anzac gets 6, and Canada collects an additional 4 on top of their 12, so they're sitting at 16. We succeeded with one tech, which is improved construction, and failed at our long-range aircraft. The Netherlands. So the Netherlands are now at war with Japan, and so that means they're a controlled minor by Great Britain. So all I can do with a controlled minor is do movements. I can't go to war with any other power. I can't do lend-lease. I can't research technology. So all I can do is move and do a recruitment roll at the end of their turn. Now, how much would they roll? Well, it's the value of the amount of their territories or less. So they control this territory here, the Netherlands themselves. They control Lesser Antilles and Suriname. So Lesser Antilles and Suriname. And lastly, they control Java, East Timor, and the Maluku Islands up here. So that means they're rolling a roll of 6 or less. Now, I'm going to roll that here. Let me zoom out the camera. So that's 6 or less. Slide it in here. 6. So right on the money. Okay, with a roll of 6 or less, I'm allowed to do 1 infantry or 2 militia anywhere in the Netherlands or the Dutch East Indies. So I've given it some thought, and I have decided I will actually not place them here. I'll get into the strategy of why I don't do that later, but I think this war is basically won against the Japanese. Instead, I'm going to place them in the Netherlands themselves. So that is going to be simply 2 militia in the Netherlands. In not Deutschland, but the Netherlands, right there. So right now we have a total of 2 infantry and 2 militia in the Netherlands. And that concludes their turn. The French Republic. So as you all know, Germany is ramping up to war. It's built 4 mechanized and 3 medium tanks, and it appears to be that they're massing on our frontier, on our eastern frontier, on France's eastern frontier. So that means we need to step ourselves into war footing. So let me just take a look at the economic table and we'll proceed from there. The French Republic. So France has $11 to spend. They're doing 1 tech roll, which is going to be long-range aircraft. They're already at stage 2 of wartime economy, so long-range aircraft seem to be the next best bet. So here we go. We need a 7 or up to succeed. And we succeed. We get stage 1 long-range aircraft. So we have $11 to spend. We're buying 5 militia for them. So we have $1 left over to save, and let's get to the map. Okay, so here we have our situation. We're going to do some non-combat moves, and they're going to be fairly easy because France really doesn't control too much territory. We're moving 3 infantry from the bordering regions, and we're going to move 1 militia up from into this direction from southern France into Alsace-Lorraine, and we're going to move 2 infantry up there as well into Alsace-Lorraine. So yeah, this is going to get a pile of stuff. I'll organize that a little bit later. In essence, that means it's going to be 5 infantry, 1 militia, 1 motorized infantry, 1 artillery, 1 anti-aircraft, and in Paris we have 7 infantry, a fighter and a medium bomber. Southern France, we have the French Foreign Legion, who has come home to defend their area. French Navy. So the French Navy are in 2 parts. One part's here in the Mediterranean, and the other part is off the coast of Singapore. So this fleet is going to do some moves, a little bit back and forth, but it's partially to keep the Axis player off his feet. So these 2 battleships are going to come to Sea Zone 49 in this position here, as well as a heavy cruiser and 2 destroyers one torpedo boat destroyer. And in this position in sea zone 80, we're just putting one destroyer in that position. That is it. That is all we're putting in that area. And now let's take a look at those submarines. This submarine convoy system is just innocently going to come in here. One submarine is going to come there. They have a movement of 3. So 1, 2, and the last 2 go all the way up north here. 3. Do some threatening maneuvers against the Japanese forces. Sorry, I guess I should bring that up here. So that's 1 in sea zone 88, 1 in 89, and 2 in 55. Okay, let's take a look at the French homeland. Now in the French homeland, we have the place unit phase. So we have 5 militia to spend. Now that we could only place the amount of French units that are equal to the territory value. So we place 2 militia in Paris itself with a territory value of 3, and we place 3 militia in Alsace-Lorraine, bringing it up to 4. And that is it. So in Alsace-Lorraine, we have 5 infantry and 4 militia, plus a motorized, an anti-aircraft, and an artillery. In Paris itself, we have 4, 5, 6, 7 infantry and 2 militia, a fighter, and a medium bomber. And in southern France, of course, we have the French Foreign Legion. And that is it, everybody. Thank you all for watching. Check out Panzer King's next video, which will be 5.5, the Italian turn. Cheers all.